If you're looking for insight into the vast world of information security, then you're in the right place. Welcome to the InfoSec Sync podcast, the only top-rated information security podcast committed to helping you enhance your cyber skill set. Listen in on conversations with world-class information security thought leaders, subject matter experts, authors, and more as we exchange ideas, best practices, and discuss the latest trends, threats, strategies, and solutions for your success. So get ready to get in sync with your host, Nick Thomas.
Scott McDaniel, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, thanks for being here and sharing your SimpleHelix stuff and all your management stuff with the listeners and podcast viewers. So one thing that I always ask all my guests that come on is, what was your road to cybersecurity? How did you get where you are today?
Yeah, great question. So my personal story is that I started out a long time ago wanting to do electrical engineering, got my electrical engineering degree, and had a college friend and roommate that got me hooked on this thing called Linux. That was pretty transformative. And as I was going through college, did an internship with a CLEC in the Southeast and found out about all this cool other Linux-like stuff called Solaris and HPUX, and started making a fundamental shift towards doing more compute engineering as opposed to just straight out electrical engineering. That led to a 15-year career at a telecommunications hardware provider. Okay. And I did lots of different roles there. And eventually that day came where the telecommunications company needed to become ISO 27001 certified in order to do business with a customer. And we in the IT shop at this company had been looking at compliance and security for some time. Finally said, this ISO 27001's enough of a bullet to jump in for having a true ISSO section or a security, a CISO role in the organization, and we needed a governance and compliance team. And so I got to lead that effort, and we built this GRC team up to handle not just ISO 27001 and other security things. From there, my name got out that I knew how to get a large organization through an ISO 27001. That's
an accomplishment right there, let me just say.
Yeah, it was. It was a huge. It was a whole company effort. But the company was about 1,600 employees. We had to be careful about how we scoped our cybersecurity world and how we were going to stay compliant. And then, so folks found out about it. Turns out that here in Huntsville, Alabama, there's a lot of government contractors that were having to do something similar to ISO 27001 called NIST-800 and 171. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting down and talking with some folks one day that were strong in the cyber world, and basically they came back and said, Scott, there's only like 8 control differences between those two standards. And so from there, there's actually a lot that can be wash, rinse, and repeated. There's lots of overlap. I'll notice that, a lot of people don't know how to get started. And, obviously we didn't know how to get started when we did it, but we figured out a way and said, there's a way for me to help other small businesses do something at an enterprise scale. And then started doing some of that on my own, and eventually the folks here at SimpleHelix found out about that and said, why don't you come work here at SimpleHelix? And that has now progressed all the way up to the point where I've now become CEO at SimpleHelix.
Well, congratulations for that. And I know that's due to your 25 years of experience in IT and cybersecurity. And based on that, you must have seen a lot of things happen in that amount of time. So what are some of the major differences in IT and cybersecurity between now and when you first started?
Yeah, so when I first started, bandwidth was scarce, right? That, they're just, it was back when, T1 was considered a lot of bandwidth for an organization.
And very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive. And so, you spend a lot of time building systems in-house because you just didn't have the bandwidth to take it outside. And over my 25-year career, obviously the whole movement to consuming more and more cloud, obviously video conferencing and podcasting, this ability to do what we're doing today has gotten just so much easier, so much more flexible, and so that need to be sitting in the office in order to get to the right IT resources, that has just completely changed. And to me, I feel that there's no need for a person to be in a physical location anymore. Give me an internet connection, give me a laptop, and I can be anywhere and do anything I need. And so I would say that's probably one of the biggest changes. And then, of course, with that change comes, there's a whole new set of security problems that happen when we all are no longer behind that firewall. And so how do you go and address that new challenge is probably, one of the things that I see is, this is hard. This stuff is, it's not just intuitively easy. You got to think about it because the cats are no longer under one roof. The cats are running all over the place. And how do you keep up with all the cats when they're not in one place? So that's probably my biggest change I've seen.
So awesome. So with that, comes the ease of you don't have to go into the office as much, right? There's not that much travel that you're doing other than from your bed to whatever laptop, unless your laptop's in bed, right? So you're actually saving the company money, but you said the magic word there, security, right? When you're not behind a firewall, how can the person home be best secure? So is that one of the things you guys do there at SimpleHelix? Can you tell me what you guys do?
Yeah, so we at SimpleHelix, at the core of our business, we are a Tier 3 data center located in Huntsville, Alabama. So, we can, do the co-location. We have our own cloud compute. We have customers, big enterprise customers. They still want to manage their own hardware. Sure, here's the keys to get into our really nice facility. We'll make sure that you always have power and cooling and all the infrastructure stuff. For customers that maybe want not so much hand-holding, we can do our cloud compute offering. We can spin up virtual machines and provide storage, all those things. And then I like to say that we kind of have three pillars, with the center pillar being that data center. On the left-hand side, we have lots of connectivity options. So we have the ability to resell lots of major carriers. We can blend bandwidth across carriers to give you a blended connection so that you're not just focused on one particular carrier, and get you connected pretty much anywhere you need to be. So, we have customers that, we have an office in the East Coast, we have an office in the West Coast. We still want that dedicated private circuit between the two because we have DoD CUI running across, we have classified data running across. Our connectivity services, we can help get that set up and running for you. And then on the right-hand side of our business, we have the traditional managed services business, where we will help customers, manage desktops, laptops, firewalls, do servers, all that type of work. And then also we are a Microsoft Gold partner. We're, cloud, CSP with them. So we can help you manage O365. We can help spin, if you don't want to run servers in our data center, we can help you get them running in Azure Cloud. We can do all those type things for you. And so it kind of becomes this one throat to choke kind of experience that we can literally get you through connectivity, through storage, to management, all from one company.
Wow, that's very exciting. So you've got the consulting part as well as the infrastructure, I guess, right?
Yep.
So you guys are obviously doing cybersecurity on your consulting side, and especially when customers are wanting infrastructure as a service from you, and between switching carriers and everything, right? And there's a lot of talk right now about ransomware and ransomware attacks. It's really big in the news. Even President Biden has put out an executive order regarding all the things that are going on. Where do you guys fit in this industry regarding compliance as a managed service provider?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things, or a couple different ways that we approach it. Probably the more common approach is that government contractor that's working in the DoD, they're seeing I'm being told I have to be DFARS 7012 or NIST-800 171 compliant, and I need a strategy to get through that compliance effort. Same thing happens with CMMC. So that's kind of a front door approach to it, right? So from that perspective, we can help the customer understand, what NIST-800 171 is from a technical and from an implementation standpoint, and then help and work with them to build a strategy to ultimately get to the finish line and be compliant. With CMMC, of course, eventually, there's that third-party auditor or assessor that will be coming and evaluating it. So from that perspective, SimpleHelix, we want to step in and help do the maintenance items and make sure that your PCs are patched and all the technical and mechanical things that go into that compliance part. One area that we really don't focus in is, we don't necessarily help people do the more security focused things with running pen testing or red team, blue team testing. We don't write SSPs for people. We're more in the trenches of it. Let us go get the laptops in the right position. Let's make sure your firewall is properly maintained and properly configured. And we're doing more of the turning the wrenches work from that perspective. Then the other side of how we get engaged with folks is hey, I'm really concerned about ransomware. I see it more and more frequently in the news. And so from that perspective, we can come in and say, okay, well, are you doing basic cyber hygiene, right? Are you doing the basic things that you need to be protected? I will say I am surprised, especially here in 2021, how few people actually just have good, solid, reliable backups. And, for as long as I've been in IT, the second I walked into the IT industry 25 years ago, the first thing I got told was, hey, Scott, make sure your backups are working. And, the same thing applies with ransomware, right? Okay, I get it. I can't stop every single person from clicking the wrong button or, somehow getting, a ransom thing started. But, man, if I have a solid backup, I can always restore. And so from that perspective, SimpleHelix can come in and we can help you get that backup service back up and running. We do things like backing up entire O365 environments in addition to the in-office things, and from that perspective. And then it moves on to getting into the multi-factor authentication, making sure that there are some policies and procedures that start leading into more of the compliance type work, making sure that, people have the right permissions and limited permissions to certain things, those type activities to help mitigate the risk of the ransomware.
That's good. It sounds like you guys have a really good grip on cybersecurity hygiene for your customers. A good place to start.
InfoSec Sync is brought to you by Excelio. Excelio provides economic, end-to-end cybersecurity threat detection and response solutions designed for your team, environment, and security objectives, providing packet-level visibility across your network. Visit them on the web at excelio.com. That's AXELLIO.com.
So you mentioned you guys are in Huntsville, Alabama, which is a major hub for government contracting because of the arsenal there, and also NASA Marshal. And you mentioned CMMC compliance. It's a hot topic right now. So for our listeners and viewers, can you just let us know what that means and what you guys do for that?
Yeah. So CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model, was born basically a year ago, January. So January, I think it was like around January 20th, version 1.0 hit the street. And so in the evolution in the DoD space, CMMC is the next chapter after NIST-800 and 171. And so the challenges with NIST-800 and 171 is that it is an aging standard. It's the type of threats and risks that it was trying to protect you against or mitigate against are kind of dated now. And so they recognized that they needed to freshen that. The other big challenge that came out of NIST-800 and 171 was that it was an all or nothing standard. So either you did all 110 controls or you didn't. But the problem with that was that if you were a small supplier, right, you're the nuts and bolts supplier, well, you shouldn't, you're not touching, CUI, you're not designing anything. You're just a supplier. So why would you have to do all 110 controls just like Lockheed Martin is? Right. And so from that perspective, CMMC was born to create the 5 levels that say if you're just a nuts and bolts supplier, hey, you only have to be level 1. If you're actually designing something and that's going to become property of the DoD, realistically, you're probably going to have to be a level 3. And then if you are one of the big, the big primes, you're probably going to have to be a level 5. And so it kind of helps really manage the amount of cybersecurity an organization has to do in relation to the contract that they're on. And so it's a lot more flexible. It's a lot more current. It's a little bit easier to maintain if you're in the smaller side of things. But, that CMMC level 3, one of the misconceptions is that I can sort of forget about NIST-800 171 and I'm just going to jump straight into CMMC. The challenge with that is that all 110 controls of NIST-800 171 are in CMMC level 3. And so really at the end of the day, you're still going to end up doing your NIST-800 171 if you're going for CMMC level 3.
No way to avoid that, right?
Yeah, there's just no way. So what we do, and where SimpleHelix jumps in on this, is that as a managed service provider, we want to be able to, help you plan a path and get you into the right environments, right? So from that perspective, helping you as a small business or medium-sized business navigate Microsoft 0365. Am I a small business that's 90% commercial with one little contract? Well, you don't need to go all the way to, say, Microsoft GCC High. There's actually a way that you can stay in commercial with some add-on third-party software that is more cost-effective than going all the way to GCC High. But maybe you're 99% Gov DoD contract. Okay, maybe it makes sense for you guys to go GCC High. Maybe you're that small business that's somewhere in the middle. And so we at SimpleHelix, we help you navigate which of the Microsoft environments to be in, and then also come up with this plan that, I get it, you don't have to be CMMC tomorrow, but it takes a long time to write that SSP. It takes a long time to make sure that everybody's laptop is properly managed, then it's enrolled in the asset management. It takes months to do that work. Let's make a plan where we start biting off the right parts and pieces that you just fundamentally need, regardless if you're told to do CMMC or not. It's just good business sense to be here. So that way you're maximizing your value out of it, even though you don't necessarily need it today, but it's still good business value. And then as you get closer to the day where you do need to audit, okay, now we just have to do these last couple little things to go across the finish line. Let's incur that expense then. And so we help customers navigate through that. We help them build a strategy around that, and then ultimately help them implement that to get to that place that they are getting ready to be audited.
Scott, I like how you guys do that. You navigate straight through that for the customer, because the customer might think, I need to go through this huge process when it's something really minimal they just need to do, and you probably save them like thousands of dollars right off the bat without them even knowing it. So that's something awesome that you guys do. So what are a few things that the listeners and viewers need to consider when tackling their compliance journey?
Yeah, so the first thing, probably the first biggest mistake that I see from business owners is that they think that this is just going to be this one and done event, and it's not. It is. I use the analogy of they think that they can just sprint to the finish line and get beyond this and move on to the next business thing. CMMC and NIST-800, any compliance model, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So when you go to run a marathon, you run differently than you run a sprint, right? A sprint, you pour all your energy in and you go as fast as you possibly can. With a marathon, you pace yourself a little bit. You plan for it. You think about how you breathe and stuff like that. We need to treat CMMC and all the compliances as a marathon, right? So that means a lot more planning and developing a strategy on the front side. Kind of gets me to my next point. Realize that on the DoD side of the house, today we have NIST-800 and 171. We also have CMMC. In the commercial world, there's PCI, there's SOC 2, there's HIPAA. There's going to be more compliance models. And so one of the things that we do at SimpleHelix is we help businesses understand realistically, you're going to have to answer to multiple compliance models. So let's build a strategy that answers to multiple compliance models, not just say, hey, we're so narrowly focused on, say, just CMMC that we only answer the CMMC controls. Let's do a strategy where we build policies that are company-based. And then as we have to go to these different compliance models, you just link a corporate policy to the compliance model or the control or the practice. Another area that we often need to advise our customers on is knowing where to get help. So many people think that they have to go do this by themselves. And to some extent, they're right that the business owns their compliance model, right? You just can't turn your entire compliance model and outsource it to, say, like me completely or, completely to an MSSP. Mm-hmm. You still own your compliance as a business, but you certainly can get help, and you need to know where to get the help and, understand that, there's certified third-party assessors that are going to help you with your assessment. There's companies like us that we can help do implementation and advise on the front side. And so having those resources available is important as you're going through the strategy phase. A lot of customers just want to jump straight into implementation without any sort of project plan. That is definitely a recipe for disaster. Because you're putting the cart in front of the horse. And so we often woe our customers up and say, whoa, stop. I know you're excited. I know you're excited to go put that new firewall in. I know you're excited about making changes to your O365. But these things need to be planned out, because the last thing you want to do is go in and put some new security policy in place, and now nobody in the company can access their USB ports anymore, or hey, nobody can log in because we didn't think about the full ramification of a policy change. And so lots more preparation needs to be done. And then there are some common compute mistakes that are made, and leveraging somebody like us at SimpleHelix to help you navigate that. We see those common mistakes every day. We've now done I mean, we're in double-digit type numbers on implementations at this point, probably 30, 40 implementations. We live and breathe this stuff every day. So we know what those common mistakes are. Just leverage the fact that we know it. You don't have to stomach those mistakes yourself. Just let us kind of help you get through that part of it. And then you'll have a much faster, cleaner, better experience in the end.
So have any of your customers gone through any of this stuff yet? And if so, how does that process work out so far?
So we have had one customer go through a DCMA NIST-800 171 full audit. So it was a case where they are a medium-sized contractor. They were awarded a very large contract that warranted the DCMA audit. Prior to them working with us at SimpleHelix, those auditors showed up on site, literally walked in their facility. They were there for about 15 minutes and went, "You guys have no chance of passing this audit. We're not even wasting our time." They literally left the building 15 minutes and flew home back to DC.
Wow.
They picked up the phone, they called us and said, "We need help. We need your help, SimpleHelix." And so it was a case where they did have some management change within their internal IT department. And together with the new leadership plus SimpleHelix, in the span of 90 days, literally a complete gut rip replace of their entire on-site data center, full migration to O365. All of that was conducted. We did a full rundown of Intune, so all their devices were managed in Intune, now called Endpoint Manager. And at the conclusion of that, those auditors came back in October of last year, conducted the full audit for them to ultimately get a perfect 110 score that they submitted into the SPRS website.
Great job, Scott. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so for all of us, very, very exciting time because, those audits, they can be very subjective. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there were definitely things that we had to correct. There were, some I's that were missed, some T's that weren't crossed. But the DCMA auditors, they worked with us. They're not against, they were not there to try to fail the organization. And, and there's some stuff that, we had to push back on and go, show me in the NIST-800 171 rule book where it says we have to go do this thing. And, one of the DCMA auditors, no, I demand that this get done, only to find out that one of the other auditors goes, yeah, no, they're right. They're right. That's not in the rule book. They don't have to do it. There is latitude to do it the way they're doing it. So, there definitely was some challenging times for it. But at the end of the day, we were excited to get that, help them get to that perfect score. And, and it just validated a lot of our efforts and a lot of the wisdom that we've gained over the past 2 years to say, yeah, we're actually know what we're doing with this stuff.
Absolutely. Great job, because you've got the experience there and the team to do it. And now coming up in Huntsville, I know the big Space and Missile Defense Symposium's coming up August 10 to 12. Will you guys be there?
We will be there. So we'll be there in some different capacities, but we will indeed be there. Me personally, I get to do a quick 15-minute speech on what I call the quad cart, and we will have a booth. Our booth number is 433, so you can definitely stop by and check us out while at the event.
And also, the National Cyber Summit is coming up in Huntsville. That's the big cyber summit there, September 28th through the 30th. Will you guys be there as well?
So I definitely will be there. and I will be there wearing two different hats because I sit on the board with the Cyber Huntsville team. So I got to be there for Cyber Huntsville, my responsibilities with that, but then also will be there as SimpleHelix as well. So I'll be a much more busy man for that event than SMD.
That's awesome. So if our listeners and viewers want to know more about the company, what is your website and how can they contact you guys?
All right. Yeah. So our website is simplehelix.com. So just www.simplehelix.com. You can email us at info@simplehelix.com, or you can call us at 256-704-1041.
Awesome. So Scott McDaniel, CEO of SimpleHelix, thanks for stopping by and thanks for staying in sync with InfoSec Sync.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. It was great to be here today.
All right.